You're listening to Popcorn in Orbit, a podcast for sci-fi lovers of all galaxies, hosted by filmmakers Jeremy Major and Ian P. Causer.
Hey everyone, welcome back. You've got Jeremy here in Canada and also Ian in the UK. How you doing, Ian?
I'm good. How are you, buddy?
Good. Now, do you prefer, I say, UK or England?
Oh, I don't mind.
You're good either way.
Yeah.
So easygoing.
Yes. Well, the English are. We're famous for it. It's funny. They all seem to be interchangeable. England, UK, British, Britain.
Yeah.
Great Britain. Perhaps you should call us Great Britain.
Oh, that does sound prestigious.
It does, doesn't it?
I'm going with that from now on.
Cool.
Yeah. All right. So we got Ian in Great Britain.
Great. You got to emphasize the great.
Great Britain.
Britain. Thank you, buddy.
Yeah. No, that is good. Have you been watching Severance lately?
I haven't.
Coming up to the end here.
I know. I like to wait till they've all dropped.
Yeah, I get that.
And then binge it.
I'll be rewatching them, I know, but it's for the Severance community. It's a very exciting time right now.
I'd imagine it would be. And, that's it. I've said it before. It's one of the most important, unimportant things that gives life texture and flavor.
Isn't it? Yeah.
It really is. And if you can get into something like that and it distracts you from all the heinous stuff in the world, that's a wonderful thing.
Yeah,
and I do get it because Andor Season 2 is finally coming in April.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one for you, isn't it?
Years, yes. Yeah. So I completely get it. And the sad thing about Andor is they're going to release it like Severance, and I can't watch one a week. So I'm going to have to wait another 3 months for it to finish.
Yes.
Avoid spoilers, and then binge it sometime in July.
Now, we've veered slightly off track because today's topic is a fun one, I think. One of the things we've been wanting to do for a while is to talk about science fiction that's kind of come into existence in real life. Do you want to frame that for us? How did we get to where we're going to start here?
Well, we've been looking at some of the sci-fi classics to see how prescient they were in predicting future technologies. And one film stood out more than any for being almost hitting like 9 or 10 different technologies.
Yes.
So we thought we'd explore this subject through the lens that is Steven Spielberg's Minority Report.
That's right.
And look at the technologies used in Minority Report to see how much of that is now in our daily lives.
Yeah.
And also look at the stuff that isn't, which, spoiler alert, is the cool stuff, like the jetpacks. They're not here.
I guess not.
Yeah.
Not in everyday use anyway.
Yeah. I'm not sure they're ever going to be.
Yeah,
either.
I know. They seem a bit dangerous.
They do, yes.
Yeah.
They do.
But this movie goes back, 23 years, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's so much in it, gadgetry and cool concepts. And yeah, a lot of them we have seen kind of come into reality.
Yeah, because I saw it on release because I'm a Spielberg nut. And I remember being kind of blown away by the science, the tech.
Yes.
And we've both watched it again very recently for this podcast. And so much of the stuff that blew me away back in 2002 is now here with us.
It is.
And so it dates the film a little bit.
It does.
In a strange way.
Yeah.
Obviously, the key MacGuffin, the pre-crime idea, this idea that people can be locked up for crimes they haven't yet committed, isn't here yet.
No.
Hopefully won't be. But you never know.
What a great concept, though, right?
Yeah, it is a fantastic concept.
Yeah, and this movie's based on a book.
Yes, it's based on PKD. So Philip K. Dick, for anybody who doesn't know, is the god of sci-fi writers.
Yeah.
He was taken way too soon, and Minority Report was one of his short stories. And just to give people an idea of the works that he's created that have been adapted into movies, and sadly he really didn't see any of these because he died a couple of months before his book Do Androids Dream of Electric Sleep was adapted into the movie Blade Runner in 1983, and he sadly died just a couple of months before Blade Runner even was released.
Is that right? I didn't know that. So he's been gone that long.
He's been gone that long, yeah.
And I didn't realize, I knew this was based on one of his works. I didn't realize it was a short story talking about Minority Report.
Yeah, Minority Report is, it was a short story. He wrote a lot of brilliant short stories. Paycheck, do you remember Paycheck, John Woo? That was a PKD
Oh, okay.
The Adjustment Bureau, the Matt Damon
yeah.
Bump movie, that was a short story that he wrote.
Oh, I didn't realize.
In 1954, he wrote that.
Really?
Yeah. This guy was so far ahead of his time. He wrote the short story Minority Report, believe it or not, in 1956.
Really?
Yeah. He showed the short story We Can Remember It For You Wholesale.
That's what it's called?
This is another one.
Oh, this is a different one. Okay.
Yeah, this is a different one. Minority Report's pretty much the only one that still has its title.
Same title. Yeah, okay.
But he wrote a short story in 1966 called We Can Remember It For You Wholesale, which has been adapted twice into movies. And that movie is Total Recall.
Oh.
The Verhoeven story.
Oh, my gosh.
In 1990, and then the remake in 2012.
So some of his titles were a little clunky.
Yeah, and he spoke brilliantly on this because you've been very kind about the titles I've come up with in the past for my scripts.
Concise.
Yeah, you like some of the titles, and I'm writing a new one, and you really like that title
I love it,
as well. And he admitted he couldn't write a title, save his life.
Really?
But he said, if I could, I'd be working in advertising rather than a literary sci-fi writer.
Oh my gosh.
Which made me feel about that big. So for PKD, writing a title means that's not writing.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And I always find that amusing. Yeah.
I know you wrote a short piece recently, and you said you spent as long
on the title.
On the title.
Yeah.
That's writing the film.
And you know, I haven't told you this. Last night, I decided I didn't like the title and spent another 4 hours trying to come up with something else. And I've come up with nothing better, so I'm still on that original title.
Right.
But I spent 3 hours on it last night going, this title, this title. So back to PKD.
Okay.
The daddy. So he's, as you mentioned, his novel was called Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, and that becomes Blade Runner very famously.
Which somehow, like a title like that, just adds to the lore of the whole thing. Do you know what I mean?
It does. What amuses me about that is that was the one he was talking about when he said, I'm not very good at titles.
Right.
And what I love about that is it becomes Blade Runner, right?
Yes.
One of the all-time great titles alone. I mean, it's just...
Yeah.
But the funny thing is, for me, is he'd come up with the term Blade Runner in Do Androids Dream of Electric
and didn't recognize it as a good title.
And didn't think to use that as a title. That was Ridley Scott, I think, that actually said, right, we're going to call it Blade Runner.
Yeah.
A Scanner Darkly. He wrote the novel A Scanner Darkly in 1977.
Good golly, this guy.
This guy, honestly, he's off the charts good. And The Man in the High Castle, which is now very, very big on, is it Prime, I think? That was,
I don't know that one. Yeah.
That's the reimagining of history if the Nazis had won World War II. And he wrote much, much, much more than that. As a person who has written some sci-fi scripts, and PKD wasn't a scriptwriter, he was a literary sci-fi writer. He wrote books and short stories. I wanted to bring him up because he is the daddy of all sci-fi writers.
Yeah, totally.
Or as somebody put it, I can't remember who, sorry, the Shakespeare of sci-fi. That's what somebody referred to him as.
Yeah, that's probably a good way to put it.
It's probably the best way to put it, yeah.
Yeah. Now, I know we're going to go through some of these technologies in a second here. I wonder how much of that was in the original writing.
I would imagine, I haven't read it, so this is guesswork, but I would imagine his original story, knowing PKD as I do, would have been based on the theme. Mm-hmm. So I would imagine the story would have been pretty much based on the idea of pre-crime and the problems with the ethics around pre-arresting people for something they haven't done.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying.
Because that's what I think he was most interested in as a writer, is those human tendencies. Yeah. He's actually really out there. If anybody wants to read up on his views on things, I think his own personal views are what inspired the Matrix films.
Oh, okay.
Because he didn't believe that our consciousness was real. He thought there was something underneath, or that this was all a perception, the world that we live in. Yeah, okay. And if you listen to him talk in interviews in the 70s, it almost is the Matrix's MacGuffin.
Wow, okay.
Yeah. So to me, my guess would be that he wasn't necessarily talking about the spiders that come into the room and check the iris scan. Yeah. But he would have been talking about it from the perspective of the precogs the idea of pre-crime and the
Yes.
idea of haloing these people,
Yeah, yeah.
which is the main part of the story, and everything
Yeah,
that comes
absolutely.
after that is the screenwriter and, of course, Steven Spielberg putting
Sure.
all of that stuff on top.
It's an interesting film. Like rewatching it recently, there were a lot of things I'd forgotten about. There's some very sort of what I'd call Spielberg moments in it. There's a lot of like almost slapstick moments, like
It's
he so
it's
often
classic
does.
Spielberg,
Yeah. In such a kind of serious tone movie, it was almost bizarre to have this.
Yeah, it's it's lovely. Do you remember the yoga scene they're doing? So he falls off the
Yes.
onto the balcony,
Yeah.
and there's a woman. That's so Spielberg. That
Yeah,
could be
it
in an
is.
Indiana Jones film or a
Totally.
Jurassic Park movie or what have you. And it's like this reminder. We're still having fun here. And
Yeah.
it's
Yeah, you're right.
Steven, you know.
You're right.
My favourite incident of that was when he dropped his eyeball and it's rolling.
Oh gosh, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that darn eyeball.
Yeah, and he just saves it from disappearing down the grate, his finger,
Yeah,
on the
yeah.
optic nerve.
And just the way that whole eyeball transplant scene was handled. Right, you got the doctor guy,
Yeah.
who's got a cold, and he's like,
Yeah,
he's
it's
just like
horrific
wiping
cold.
his nose.
Yeah, it's got to be the greatest cold in the history of cinema.
Oh my gosh, yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah,
Not
And
something
it's-
you see a lot in movies.
No, it's Peter Stormare, isn't it? He's a wonderful
Yeah.
character actor. But that is the most productive cold I've ever seen. That's the best way to put it. It is disgusting.
Yeah. And then, he's got the string. The one hand goes to the bathroom, the other one goes
Yeah.
to the fridge. And
When he
gets
bends to that
there,
sandwich,
yeah,
honestly. Oh,
sandwich, the milk. It's just,
Yeah.
and just the choreography of that little sequence too was pretty classic.
It really was. It's
Yeah.
because I think I'm right in saying that an early script version, possibly even before Spielberg was attached, was R-rated.
Oh,
And
okay.
It was a really heavy
Yeah.
version with a very different ending. There's no happy ending.
Right,
you
okay,
know,
yeah.
Because the precogs can't go and live anywhere in peace. So they end up on a rocky outcrop in the middle of the Indian Ocean, living somewhere very,
Right, yeah.
very sparse, just so they can get out of people.
Yeah.
And I think some of that darkness is still in there, but the rewrites to make sure it's not an R-rated movie, and no doubt I was going to say Spielbergify it, but if you watch War of the Worlds, that's really dark. It says Stephen can be
Yeah.
really dark, particularly
can be.
post 9/11. It'd be interesting to know actually when they were developing this. If it was pre 9/11, that might explain why there is some of that sort of slapstick, light-hearted stuff in there. Because Spielberg,
I would think it would be
it would be, yeah.
just because of the post-production time on it.
Yeah. So that might explain it, because post 9/11, I noticed for a period of time Spielberg gets very dark.
Yeah.
With War of the Worlds and Munich, and there's none of that in there.
Yes.
There's none of that fun
Right. Yeah. I hear what you're saying.
in there.
Interesting movie to look at too. And I think like he started working with Janusz Kaminski, the cinematographer, I think with Schindler's List. Because he did like Jurassic Park was Dean Cundey, and then Schindler's
Okay.
List was Janusz Kaminski. And I think pretty much from that point on, they worked together. And there's such a shift in the look of his movies, like just really high contrast, a lot of treatment. Like I think the treatment here is what's known as like a bleach bypass. That's how you
Right,
get those
okay.
sort of stark white,
Okay, yeah.
cool kind of tones in that. But so grainy, like some of
Yeah.
the shots. And I was watching on a fairly large screen. Some of the shots are so grainy. It's nuts.
There is connected now as Spielberg is to John Williams, aren't they? They
Yeah.
they
Yeah,
work
they
together on everything. And I think Janusz once said that. I think I'm right in saying he said Spielberg asked him to make it the ugliest film they'd ever
Yeah.
made together.
It's
And I
sort of
imagine that
beautifully
bleaching
ugly.
Yeah, I imagine that bleaching is part of that.
Yeah, I would think
process.
so. Yeah.
You're never quite sure, certainly on first viewing, if what you're watching is real or if what you're watching is a precog's vision.
Yes.
You can tell when there's a precog vision on the screen. I'm not saying there's no delineation,
Right.
but that sort of dreamy effect
You're right.
is across really the whole film almost.
You're right.
Even with the videos Tom has of his child that project,
Yes.
that's not a high quality image in the video. It's a jittery, jerky.
Yeah.
And it feels like that's a very conscious, creative decision to make this whole film look like that.
Agreed.
Like a dream effect.
Yes, I hear what you're saying. That's an interesting perspective too. And that may have sort of, I might be making this up, but I feel like some of that extreme look was slightly less towards the end of the film.
Yeah, it got clearer
a little cleaner.
It got cleaner almost as the reveals occurred.
Yes.
Because one of my favourite things about Minority Report is the fact that its title is a red herring, which is very rare in films, because there is no Minority Report.
No.
So when she mentions it in the greenhouse and it's the title of the film, you're thinking, okay, that's where we're going. There's a Minority Report proving Tom's character doesn't shoot this guy.
Yeah.
Doesn't kill this guy. And that is, of course, one big red herring. And I wonder if it gets cleaner as the truth.
As he gets closer to the truth.
Yeah. Because Tom doesn't know what's going on. We don't know what's going on as the audience. And as it all becomes to light.
Yes.
Because I noticed it. Originally, I thought it was the appearance of his wife's character. Like she brings light into it in some way, shape or form. But I think it's more likely to be the reveal that creates the clarity.
Yeah.
They even use, the drug's even called clarity, isn't it?
I think you're right.
That they're using is called clarity. It's like they're looking for clarity constantly.
Interesting. Wow, you've gone deep.
I'm sorry, as the writer in me.
That's very cool, though.
And what I love about Spielberg's my favourite. To me, he's the first face carved onto a Mount Rushmore of Hollywood.
I know.
Steven Spielberg's number one.
Yeah, it's true.
And part of the reason I love him so much is because all of this stuff that we're talking about now, I'm not thinking about when I'm watching the movie.
No.
He can entertain you and then you go away and think, rather than you sitting there going, oh, well, that's interesting. The drug's called clarity. That doesn't happen. What happens is it takes 2 days later and go, oh, because I didn't think of that until I just said it.
Yeah.
Oh, the drug was called clarity,
Yeah.
So he doesn't make you think whilst you're enjoying the story.
No, you really do park your brain.
You park your brain and you enjoy it. And then afterwards you can delve in and go, wow, there's this and this and this and this. In other words, he's not browbeating you over the head with his themes.
It's true.
It's brilliant.
And I feel like he got experimental at times. He did a lot of really creative stuff with the camera that could almost pull you out of the movie. You and I kind of talk about this on occasion, is like things that draw your attention.
Yeah.
At all, really, when you're watching a movie. Is that good or bad?
If it pulls you out the story.
Yeah, if it pulls you out of the story. I think as a filmmaker, it's maybe good. And you might see things differently. They might grab you in a different way. Like I was really struck by, some of his techniques. Like all of a sudden that sequence where the little robot things are coming up looking through the building, and he cuts to that overhead shot and it travels through all these rooms, right? And some are funny and whatever else, carefully obstructed and whatever, but what an interesting way to approach that sequence.
Yeah. I knew you were going to say that because that's the one I noticed.
But I was very conscious of it. As a filmmaker, it's cool.
See, I wasn't seeing it as cool. I was seeing it as brilliant.
Right.
Because how do you convey to an audience without exposition that it's a perfectly normal experience for these spiders to come into your room while you're having sex and look in your eye? That's what the populace has got used to. And he conveys that in a series of 3 shots with a couple arguing, a couple in bed together, and a guy on the toilet.
Yep.
And nobody's surprised or shocked or what the hell are you doing?
No.
So he conveys in an 8-second sequence without dialogue what would take me as a writer, if I was a bad writer, 10 pages to write in exposition.
Yeah.
This is the world. It would be a voiceover, wouldn't it? This is a world, dystopian, post-apocalyptic landscape where people are so used to it. That's what a bad filmmaker would do.
Yes.
And what Spielberg does is he shows the normality of this situation brilliantly in just a few seconds.
It's true. And it's very efficient to watch it. The setup on a shot like that would be massive because you're building roofs on set, and some of those like broken pieces of ceiling were really carefully placed.
Yeah, I know.
And the camera just had to arrive in the right spot. From a storytelling point of view, it's really efficient to, as you say, convey all that stuff. From a filmmaking point of view, it would be a giant pain in the butt to put all that together.
But it's worth it because
It's worth it.
It tells the story so elegantly and quickly.
Yeah.
On our top 10, my Spielberg was Ready Player One, and it just beat Minority Report.
Yeah.
The reason, I have personal reasons, as I mentioned, but the reason I just adore Ready Player One is he built that world for you as the audience in 3 minutes. If you watch Ready Player One, the opening of this is extraordinarily complex for anybody who doesn't know what's going on. And honestly, a great filmmaker would take half an hour just to build that world for you as the audience and turn it into a 3-hour movie. And that's a great filmmaker. A bad filmmaker, it's the whole film. It's just showing, it's just trying to get your head around this thing.
Yes.
And Spielberg, he's that great. He does it in 3 minutes. That's just, the efficiency of it is astonishing to me.
The technical requirements of that 3 minutes is out of this world.
Yeah.
And the expense.
Yeah.
But the outcome is fantastic.
The outcome's fantastic, yeah. Do you remember the first time you see Indiana Jones's eyes in Raiders of the Lost Ark? He steps through the jungle out into and the light is, and his natural light is just taking his eyes under the fedora.
Yeah.
And it's just as the whip's gone and Harrison steps into frame. That's the sort of thing. I don't know anybody else that's ever been able to do that.
I know.
Because I don't think that was actually externally lit. I think he's literally found a beam of light through the Hawaiian rainforest, and he's got the reveal almost perfect.
Yeah, to establish a hero like that.
Yeah.
It's such a great way to do it.
Indy's in frame for the first 4 minutes, goes to the jungle and then the bats, and you've got all this. But only from behind, you just see his back and the leather jacket, and he's silhouetted effectively until his guide turns on him and cocks the gun.
Yeah.
And he turns with the whip and then steps into to revert. It's just...
Yeah, it's so good.
Oh, the man's a genius, honestly.
He is.
He really is.
Yeah, all right. So do you want to get into the list here?
Yeah.
What were some technologies that jumped out for you? When you
personalized advertising.
Personalized advertising, yeah, totally.
That's here.
Which would not have been a thing. Like this is 2002. This came out. I think it's set in 2054. Yeah. So I'm just trying to think. 2002. Computers were becoming commonplace by that point, but not what we have today.
If we say that this is in production in 2001, that's still 6 years from the first iPhone.
Yeah.
You know, for anybody young in the audience, 6 years pre-iPhone is a lot.
I don't think I had an iPhone until 2010 or something like that.
iPod may have been out.
Yeah, probably in some form.
MP3 players were around, But the idea of personalized advertising would have seemed like as crazy as the jetpack back in 2001.
Now, he was literally walking through public spaces and it was like, Hi, John. Hi, John.
Hi, John.
Was that his name, John? Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course
it was. John, Jack, or Ethan.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know if we're seeing it quite to that degree right now, but you definitely see it.
It's coming.
Through our devices and various things. Yeah. In a freaky kind of way. Yeah. So that was neat. What else?
The gesture controlled technology that he uses right from the very start was so space age when that came out. The idea that you could just use gestures to, but that's pretty much here, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I think like in a very real way, something like Apple Vision Pro totally uses that.
Yeah.
It's all, I think, gesture-based computing.
I mean, even just on FaceTime.
Yeah.
When we're FaceTiming each other, I put a thumbs up and
you're right.
We get these, I'm doing gestures that aren't intending for the computer to do something with, and you'll suddenly get balloons popping on your screen because I've put my thumbs up or what have you. So it's here and it's here to stay.
Even the cereal box, jumping back, was personalized. Had like an animated thing on the cereal box, which we don't have today. But I'm sure those cereal companies will do it as soon as they can.
If they're going to make it affordable, so they could just go on to a cereal box, then they'll do it.
Yeah, it's true, isn't it? Even this sort of idea of like Zoom calls and that, they were doing, he had those couple of people who
the judges
monitored everything he did in that room.
And I don't think we had Skype then, which I think was the first sort of video call
I think you're right.
technology, and it really wasn't very good.
No.
But though that was like as clear as a FaceTime call, wasn't it, back in 2001. which is impressive. The automated cars jump to me because that's such a big deal right now as well.
Self-driving vehicles. Yeah.
Not even a steering wheel in the vehicle,
No.
And the ethics of that are interesting.
Yes.
And are being debated currently. So
yeah.
What else what jumped out to you?
Those were the big ones. Yeah, he had, sort of like a Bluetooth earpiece. I don't think we were dealing with any Bluetooth at the time.
And the watch.
The watch, the wearable tech.
Smart watching. It was a smartwatch as well. So wearable tech. Mm-hmm. Iris scans,
yeah,
for security.
Eyeball replacement.
Well, I mean, if we ever do get tagged with ID, like on our physical bodies,
right?
It will be something. It would either be something under the skin or something like that.
Yes, yeah.
And the reason it jumped to me was because when I fly into the States as a non-US citizen,
right.
they iris scan me and they take electronic fingerprints.
They iris scan you?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, they have a little iris scanner thing on.
Wow. I think what's fun about this story is the rules that they've kind of created. Like, as a writer, if you weren't looking for obstacles, you might not have created in the story this technology that requires a retinal scan. Yeah. To access the information he needed, right?
Yeah.
But because he created that, well, now he's got to go to this, black market doctor or whatever. All of it adds so much interest and complexity.
And that for me, I wouldn't be surprised if that was an original short story because PKD has a thing with eyes. There's no two ways about it. They're appearing a lot. Do you remember the scene in Blade Runner where Rutger Hauer is playing with the eyes, the fake eyes for the replicants, and he's putting them on the shoulder.
Weird.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it is the windows to the soul. It was part of why PKD was so fascinated with eye technology.
Yeah, that's really
the
interesting.
Creation of eyes and what we do with eyes.
Yeah.
Or, for me, it's just because they're squishy and make me wince. For some reason, because it's your eye. It's like, And I'm sure that's what Spielberg was playing with.
Yes.
Especially when he drops his eyeball and it's rolling away into a gutter.
Yeah.
But you're right. That's what you do as a writer. I see a scene in my brain.
Yeah.
And go, that would be a cool or that'd be a horrifying thing. I haven't seen that before. That's awesome. But now I've got to fit that into a story.
How do I create a reason?
How do I do that? Yeah, we need a reason to do that. And that is the perfect reason. There was also so many plants in this film.
Yes.
In the first act.
Oh, yeah. Even when I keep wanting to call her Aunt Meg from Twister. Isn't that who that was?
Yes.
Yeah. She had those plants that were like moving around.
Yeah.
And
it's so that was like eugenics, isn't it? That's eugenics they're playing with, the idea of crossbreeding these things to create new species, which is something that humanity's messed around with since the Nazis in the 30s. The idea
Interesting.
Of, even the creation of the precrogs themselves,
Right. Yeah.
And the fact they're not treated as human.
Yeah.
They're treated pretty abominably, actually.
Yeah, they're basically prisoners.
Yeah, they are. And kept drugged, and it's just horrendous, really.
Now, why wasn't she wrinklier when she got out of that pool?
It's I love Samantha Morton. She just crushed playing Agatha.
Yeah, she did.
What a performance. I think she studied a baby's mannerisms and the way a baby will hold itself.
Yeah.
Because if you just watch her, often the camera's on Tom, but he has to put her down, in that third act. She can't stand on her own 2 feet yet.
Yeah.
So he'll put her on the floor while he's doing something. And my eye was drawn to her and her acting and her mannerisms. And I came to the conclusion she studied a baby who can't walk yet.
Yes.
And she's just fantastic. But yeah, good question. That could be what you ask Spielberg when you meet him. I'm gonna flatter him about all of Jaws and Raiders of the Lost Ark,
right?
Saving Private Ryan, Schindler's List. I'll be bringing those things up. You can say, "You're pretty good, Steve." Got a question? Why wasn't Agatha more wrinkly? She'd been in a tub her whole life.
Totally.
Yeah.
What's going on? Maybe that's special. That's that special fluid that's in there.
Like a saline, I would imagine.
Yeah, they don't get wrinkly.
No,
I don't know. But you make an interesting point. this contrast between the sort of low tech and the high tech
Yeah.
in this film, right? Like there's locations they visit that feel like they're from the 50s.
Yeah.
And then when they're in that city, it's miles into the future.
Because I know what I've already said about PKD. The child on the merry-go-round,
Yeah.
I almost think that was that in the original story, and they just couldn't find another way to replace it, because that's a very 50s scene. They're brick-built houses with an old-fashioned merry-go-round and a child on it. And it's quite an important plot point. So
It is, yeah.
We can't find a way to modernize that, so we'll use PKD's original idea of this child just spinning on a merry-go-round.
But what an interesting contrast. And I think it does really kind of ground the story.
Yeah, it does.
If it was all in that future time or that future look,
Yeah,
you might not feel as connected to it. Because in some respects, it feels just like today.
it does.
But then all these sort of fantastical things.
Then they arrive on
appear.
jetpacks in that
Yeah.
particular scene. They're suddenly right, and it's jarring.
It is.
I was just, that's a really good point. I was just sort of disappearing off into my imagination about other sci-fi movies that do that.
Yeah.
Like Blade Runner. You know, other than the neon advertising, which is kind of here now, if you look at Shanghai or Times Square or what have you.
Yeah.
When you get down onto the ground with Deckard, it's just dirty and...
Dirty, gross, rainy.
Yeah. There's nothing sort of super high-tech about it. This is not I don't think PKD ever wrote a positive vision of the future. I think they were all kind of dystopian sort of views of it. So maybe, that's a really important thing in sci-fi is if you're going to have an Earth-based sci-fi story, you have to ground it in a reality that we recognize in order for it to be effective. We're literally spitballing, aren't we? We're spitballing in the middle.
I like it.
Yeah.
Seems to fit with a lot of films.
I don't know if you noticed, Jay, but there are a lot of plot points very similar to The Fugitive.
I hadn't noticed.
So he's on the run for something he hasn't done.
Yeah.
A la Richard Kimball. He has to break back into where he worked. Like Richard Kimball has to go back to the hospital.
Yeah.
Tom Cruise has to go back to the temple.
Interesting.
To gain the evidence to prove their innocence.
Right.
They both conclude in a ballroom with the bad guy giving a speech.
Oh, my.
And the protagonist entering the ballroom. It's like,
wow.
You know, it might just be me, but I just saw a lot of plot points.
Interesting.
That's reminded me of Harrison Ford's The Fugitive. Even like Tommy Lee Jones is almost like the Colin Farrell character.
Right.
As in, he's chasing him, but he's a good guy.
Yeah.
You know? You don't want him to catch him, but he's still a good guy.
Yeah, yeah.
You know? So it's just something I noticed.
Very interesting. Now, what year was The Fugitive?
93, I think.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
So you're claiming plagiarism, are you?
Absolutely not, no. I'm claiming nerd points. Nerd points for noticing whilst watching The Minority Report that some of the plot points were very similar to a film that's nothing like The Minority Report. I just thought it was interesting.
That is.
There you go.
Okay, there you go. So yeah, that's our take on at least sci-fi that's come into real life as seen in Minority Report.
Yeah, I think there's loads of movies out there that do have one or two technologies that we now see.
Yeah.
And I'm sure we've missed something.
Yeah.
Between us. Be good to hear from somebody who can think of another movie with more instances than Minority Report.
Yeah.
But Minority Report stood out to us as the one that seems to have the most technologies that are now with us.
Yeah, so it's fun to revisit that. Now, oftentimes when you go back to a science fiction film set in the future that was filmed a while ago, you look at it and everything's kind of ridiculous. Like it all feels kind of fake and hokey and whatever else. I didn't really have that feeling watching it.
No.
I felt like it held up.
Yeah.
Storytelling's great. But even the technology part of it didn't feel clunky or like production design.
To me, it comes along the lines of necessity being the mother of invention.
Yeah.
And living in a capitalistic society, necessity is to make money. So you need to make something that is worthwhile.
Yeah.
Which means it's inevitably going to be boring.
Yeah.
What I'm trying to say is I'm not surprised personalized advertising's come in, but hoverboards from Back to the Future haven't. Because a hoverboard would be far more cool, far more fun, but where's the practical application of it?
Right, I see what you're saying. Yes, the necessity.
Yeah. Where's the money to be made off that?
Yeah.
Even if you can get it going, it's going to be a gimmick. Whereas personalized advertising, as dull as that is, people are going to make a lot of money off it. So yeah, they're going to invest in making the technology to make that a possibility.
Yeah, yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I get that. Yeah.
And I just think that's the human condition. We'll make the stuff that makes money, then we'll make the stuff, but we're not going to make the stuff that's just cool.
Yes.
Because it would take severe investments to get a jetpack. In production.
Yes, and approvals.
And approvals, and not being sued when somebody flies into their ceiling.
Yes.
Because they didn't read the warning
Which
saying,
will
do
happen.
not use indoors, stuff like that.
No, it's so true. It's so true. Well, but nonetheless, we can continue to hope for jetpacks.
We can, yeah. Maybe one day.
Outdoor use only.
Yeah, outdoor use only.
All right, so that's our take on the technologies of Minority Report. Thanks so much for listening. And Ian, as always, a pleasure.
And you, Jay. Take care, buddy.
Popcorn in Orbit is produced by the Shooting Eye and Ice River Pictures.